Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Empowered Teams podcast. I'm Eric, and I'm here with Toby.
Nice to meet you guys.
So, we were actually trying to, discussing various subjects for this week, and we sort of came upon a few discussions about the metaverse in the news. Let me just put this up on screen, which sort of got us talking and kind of, sparked a bit of a discussion, right? And for those of you who don't know, what's been happening is big companies, including Disney and Meta themselves, have been slowly abandoning the metaverse entirely and pivoting towards other things. So Disney's killing their metaverse division, and Meta is pivoting towards AI.
Maybe a bit of history about us as a game studio.
Yeah.
We started our life as a team working in Second Life, actually, which was, if you want, the first metaverse. And we worked with World.Shell, and we worked with a number of other organizations, Computer Science Corporation, Philips Healthcare, Philips Design, and we had other partnerships that worked in Second Life and experimented with Second Life, which was called the Metaverse. That was its dream and idea, as to how we could create, I suppose, accelerated learning environments using this technology. That was really interesting. It was really groundbreaking. At that time, IBM and Synchronicity produced their white papers on virtual worlds, real leaders. So there was a lot of conversation about the role of video game technology and the utilization of this technology, to drive learning within organizations and to, I suppose at that time that it was linked with the learning organization and this idea that you could help people grow, and that growth became an asset, and that asset became a competitive edge.
Okay. Yeah. Just for
2008 came,
context,
yeah.
I wasn't actually with you guys at that point. I joined a bit later,
No,
so
yeah.
I'm also sort of discovering this at the same time. I've heard
Yeah.
this story,
Well,
but
we learned about it because 2008 came, which basically wiped us, our clients, and the people we dealt with right out.
yeah.
And I think it hurt Second Life badly. But in Second Life, IBM, well, a whole range of companies were experimenting, right? Trying to see how you could use virtual landscapes to be able to collaborate,
Yeah.
right? And that collaboration went around sharing information, having music concerts, having
Yeah.
big conferences, having sales kickoffs. It was really interesting to see what was going on. In many ways, Second Life was the forerunner of NFTs, of that, virtual objects that you'd want to pay for and keep as
Yeah.
unique, you know. And this was alongside the same thing that you'd see happening in video games for World of Warcraft, EVE Online, etc., that had their own economies and with which you used real money to buy virtual objects, etc. But Second Life really was the first group of technologies trying to do this in the world. So
Yeah.
that it had the same ambitions that Meta had
Yeah.
with the metaverse.
Yeah.
But there's some fundamental difficulties that we think that happens around the metaverse. We were writing stuff down. First of all, what is the metaverse, Eric?
Right. Yeah. So that's actually a pretty fascinating question because at this point it's kind of everything and nothing all at once. Meta's been trying to hype up the concept so much that everyone knows about it, so to speak, but no one really understands what it's supposed to be. I think that
Right.
the best way to understand it is actually to go back to the roots of like the word metaverse and the concept behind it, which,
Mm.
unless I'm mistaken, I think it's the earliest sort of occurrence of that modern sense of the word is in the book Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson, I think.
Yeah.
And it's literally the idea was to have the internet, but as a continuous physical space that you can move around in at the speed of thought, right? And it's this really great concept for a book.
Right.
It's fun. It's sort of this cool, edgy concept, and we've seen it reused in science fiction since the biggest example everyone sort of has in mind at the moment is is Ready Player One, especially the recent movie, which really has that striking second version of reality, but in a virtual space, right? That's sort of the I guess the root of what we're talking about, and there are, like you said, Second Life was a metaverse, and I think there are probably dozens of metaverses at this point. But the concept of the metaverse is trying to recreate some form of virtual space that you can engage, you can be in some way or another virtually and interact with stuff, interact with people, interact with
Yeah.
companies, and so I mean, in a sense, it's almost like saying the internet, but with 3D graphics, right?
Well, it's
That's my
it's 3D
understanding of what they're
internet.
trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's a 3D internet. But, so kind of, well, one of the things that you see now, right, is you see, uh, um, how's the right word? A whole lot of people pushing, either from a consultancy point of view, they're giving talks on the metaverse,
yeah,
right? And they're saying what's going to happen and how it's going to be in the future. And to me, it just looked like the blind leading the blind, because
yeah,
this was groups of consultancies, and they shall remain nameless, but you guys know who they are, who are talking with, they're all experts in the metaverse, and they don't play
yeah,
video games,
yeah,
right? You go talk to them, to these organizations, and the only games or the only virtual experiences allowed on their company internet is via the browser.
yeah,
So how does how are you going to stick a VR 3D internet on that? But no, we're all going to dust off our PowerPoint and come and give expert talks and be invited to give talks on the future of training in the metaverse.
yeah,
When it's not only a concept, it's conceptualless
yeah,
from
yeah,
our point of view. We did a. Do you remember? So before the metaverse, there was VR hype,
yeah,
right? Which is where it all kicked off. And
yeah,
this VR hype, you know, we bought into a little bit. We went out and we put our flagship game. We built a VR solution for it, and
yeah,
we tested. We rolled it out. We marketed it. We tested it. We brought clients to come and work on it, and they were sick
yeah, yeah,
time and time and time
yeah,
again. Not everybody, all right,
and not all
but
the
a
time,
great
but
no,
enough that if
but
it
a
was
greater
not,
majority were
yeah,
not well,
yeah,
and that meant that you couldn't scale it. It could only
hmm,
be for a few people, and this. I've had conversations with people who are experts in this field, and they've said, "Shh,
yeah,
we don't say that,"
yeah,
you know. And I'm like, what do you mean don't say it? That's why I was saying it's the metaverse has got no clothes. Because we've been the little boy going, well, it doesn't work.
yeah,
Like I was talking, I think in the last podcast where one of the top streamers of games, Fighting Cowboy, is organizing his calendar for the games that he's going to stream over the next couple of months. And he came up with one idea, which was VR games. But then he put a codicil to what he was saying and said, yeah, but I'm aware that makes quite a few of you ill, so maybe we need to think of something
yeah,
else. So how come nobody in all of these consultancies all that says, well, it makes people ill?
yeah. And I think you can go even further and add there's compounding effects here, where the technologies come a bit of a ways. It's gotten better. It's probably we're reaching the point where it's probably going to start becoming technologically viable, right? Start. I'm not saying it's there yet. I'm saying we're getting to a point where
Yeah.
not getting sick is going to become a possibility.
I think
That's
you're a bit of a prophet. We have a bit of a disagreement on this at the moment,
yeah.
but yeah, but
But
the
but
word near is
Yeah, but
yeah,
my point here is that even once you get past that, say people are not getting ill anymore because the image is moving at a better reaction speed and everything, so it's good. What ends up happening is you're still asking people to put something on their face that cuts them entirely from reality, visually, in terms of audio. It has to be done in an environment where there are no obstacles, otherwise you're going to end up touching things that you don't see and bumping into stuff, right? So
mm,
you're basically asking people to enter a completely isolated space to do anything. And for some things, like if you're talking pure entertainment, gaming, I guess there's some space for that. There's a place there in the market. Not huge, but it's going to exist. It already does to a certain extent. I mean,
mm,
one of the biggest VR games is Beat Saber, which is sort of halfway between a rhythm game and like some sort of a fitness thing where you're just chopping at blocks coming your way, and
mm,
that works. It works great.
mm.
But what's the business application, right?
It's
Like we,
But
we
I don't think anybody. That's the thing that we've talked about. That we're specialists in teamwork, and I'm like, okay, so I get VR application for forensic with fire
yeah,
services. All right,
or
I
like
get it.
medical simulation
Right,
makes sense
that I can
for
see
sure.
the problem that they're solving. I can see the training. You use an Unreal Engine, which is a fantastic engine to use, right? For the quality of it. But does grandma really need a VR headset to go and pay the local gas bill? Because,
It's just
all
not
right,
gonna
it's like,
happen.
well, never mind, my grandma can hardly use a mobile phone.
Yeah,
So it's like, well, that's not knocking grandmas. There are some that can, but and some in our family, it's a bit difficult. All right,
yeah,
but I would say I would use a bit. I'm trying to do this politely with you because we do a lot of fencing on this. But like,
go. Don't go soft
imagine
on me.
that's what the team would say. But um, imagine actually uh, that the glasses that you're wearing do represent or take on board what you see around you. In other
Yeah.
words, they don't give you a false environment which
Hmm.
you go and bump your head in because it bumps right into the environment you're in. Imagine what's happening is the VR reflects what you're experiencing now, but it makes it digital. But in making it digital, it gives information points.
Yeah.
So as you're walking through with a headset, that and headset can be your glasses, for example. That's just be a bit, more device kind.
Yeah.
Because Google really tried, but then it gave up on it. But we actually built again
Hmm.
using Google glasses. We built applications for our multiplayer again because it's the first time we put it on Android as well. But imagine that you've got this VR, but what you've got taking place is, I think, is what MIT talked about, ambient intelligence.
Yeah.
So there's not so normally you're walking through the street and you're using particularly your mobile
Hmm.
as a means to give you extra information or interact. All right. Now imagine that you're walking through the street, but what you have is like a heads up device.
Yeah.
All right, like you're a pilot, for
Yeah.
example, and it's giving you information around. Well, now, some people are going to say, well, that's augmented reality. That's not exactly. And then you and I were having this conversation where maybe there's a range between augmented reality, like Google Live for maps.
Hmm.
All right, and if you guys haven't tried that, you should try that. I know. So I find it actually quite amazing how many people haven't tried that,
Yeah.
but they know,
Yeah.
right? To write on you're virtually immersed,
Yeah.
all right, with a level. I think this is strange.
Yeah.
The thing about the metaverse, for our experience, is that it didn't have any of that, and most of the people that were involved in it never played a video game in their life. So they have no understanding of how do you build an environment, how do you build workflows. Do you see what I'm saying there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like there was just
absolutely.
like,
I think there's actually sort of this thing where there's sort of two implementations, or maybe more, but there's two big implementations of the quote unquote metaverse happening. One of them is driven by people like Meta, Facebook, and lots of companies that are sort of subscribing to that hype. And the other one is being built by gamers. So if you look at what Meta's doing, basically what they're trying to do is find something that they can market and make money with, right? So they're trying to do a thing where you're going to have a virtual avatar, they're going to sell you clothes, and they're going to sell you, virtual furniture, and they're going to sell companies virtual space to put virtual interactions in. And it's all about money. It's all about what they're selling you and what money they're going to make from it. It's not about, what's interesting for you as a user in that virtual environment. And then on the other side, you have what gamers are doing. And I think the best example, which is probably the only successful quote unquote metaverse experience out there, which is what's happening in Fortnite, where they do stuff like virtual concerts. And for those of you who don't know, these are big events, like massive events with, you know, thousands of people, tens of thousands, possibly millions. I don't have the stats in mind, but they're big concerts with like stars. Like I think Ariana Grande did one. Some famous people who go in and do a virtual concert in a virtual environment. Well, the tech in there is completely different, right? They're using a pre-existing user base in a pre-existing virtual environment that already has you have a reason to be there for fun, for something interesting. You're playing a game, you've got your avatar, you've already got all that stuff, right? And they already have other ways of selling you that, and that's how they make money. But you've got a reason to be there, and the bonus experience is the concert. The concert is not the sole reason to be there
no,
because they
but
know
I
if they
think
did that, no one would come, right?
no, but I think for me that's exciting. So you can I've seen like like you can see like in World of Warcraft or a lot of the MMORPGs, they have festival events.
Yeah,
So they reflect in the life that you experience in the virtual world, they reflect the season. So they'll
yeah,
have Christmas, they'll have Easter, they'll have summer holidays, they'll have Olympics, etc. Okay. You can automatically see that the next stage for them is developing because they already have recreational activities.
yeah,
You have places for the guild, and a guild can be enormous, where everybody comes and meets, everybody comes and shares. You're not actually playing. It's a
yeah,
community where you're coming. Sure, the main activity is actually doing the dungeons or doing the PvP or
yeah,
helping people level. But there's a community aspect that is no different from if you're at your local archery club or your local football club, where there's an esprit de corps and
yeah,
activities built around it that increase the quality of life.
yeah,
For many people, EVE Online, etc., they work in collaborative communities and they've never met ever.
yeah,
And
yeah,
sure, nowadays people are arranging to meet, and sometimes it's almost like, a dating environment where one gamer meets
yeah,
another gamer and they arrange to meet and they end up getting married. There's actually lots
yeah.
of
Or
things taking
becoming
place.
lifelong friends or that sort of stuff, or moving into the same city just to be together, that sort of stuff for
But,
sure.
but I think there's a lesson here, Eric. I think one of the things that has to be a lesson, right, is sort of the fantasy making power of consultancies and tech businesses to create this hype.
Yeah,
And that people like us who are saying, well, we just don't see it, we don't see how it works. You know, we've built stuff with the same VR headsets that they're building the
yeah,
3D internet with, and it doesn't work.
yeah,
But nobody's going to listen to us. How many people, consultancies, Right. The world of consultancies. And then other organizations piled into this metaverse. I mean, what is that they can't, that they're unable?
Yeah.
Just sound like
Yeah.
I'm flabbergasted that they're unable. It's almost like they get swept along in this vibe,
Yeah.
and nobody's allowed to say, please, he's not wearing any clothes.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it makes people dizzy.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. That doesn't matter. It's all going to be like this. And
It's almost like there's it's almost a form of speculation, which would kind of be interesting if it wasn't backed by people, by the only people who are going to benefit from it, right?
no, but they've done it deux fois. No, I'm saying
Yeah.
French. 2 times they've done this.
Yeah.
They did this on the VR, and all of the consultants. This is where this is going to be the Gartner hype cycle. This is going to be where it's going to be. Then there's
Yeah.
going to be it's going to. I was thinking because I was going to write an article on this, and I was thinking about this yesterday. What's that like story about? Like you put 100 monkeys in a room with typewriters, and in 100 years they produce a Shakespeare play.
Yeah.
It's that, right?
Yeah,
That's the
it's
science
it's
thing.
the it's also
Right. So imagine.
the library I forget what you call it's I forget if, in English if it's Babel or Babel, whatever
Babel,
the
right?
Babel. Yeah, so it's that
Yeah,
idea that if you have every single thing ever written, in theory, you would have everything that's ever going to be written.
right. But think of that, right? 100 monkeys. So
Yeah,
why is it that you spend 100 billion, 10,000 developers, put them in a room, and they're going to come up with a 3D internet?
yeah,
It's like,
it's crazy.
it's like, yeah, well, I can imagine I'd imagine the developers would be playing, Fortnite,
Yeah,
Overwatch in the corner thinking, oh, it's good money getting paid. And then they
yeah,
all get released to the market. Oh,
yeah,
sorry, they fired them again and again. So they fired the monkeys, and now moving, swiftly on, their focus is going to be on AI. But they've
because
just
that's what's
missed the
actually
boat.
changing the market, right? Yeah, it's too
Yeah, but
late.
they've just missed the boat,
Yeah,
right? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
oh, now we're now moving our emphasis to this. And in the UK at the moment, somebody just told me they are running a stream of metaverse adverts, a stream
yeah,
of them. And it's like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, They're running a stream of adverts in the metaverse. And meanwhile, quietly coming out the press is, oh no, we're moving on.
yeah.
It
And
didn't work.
you have dozens and dozens of journalists who actually try to go into what is it, Horizon Worlds or whatever they call it, is Meta's Metaverse app, and it's empty. There's nobody there. Not their employees, not the people who gave it, who gave into the hype. No, everyone's abandoned it because it's not interesting. There's
I
nothing to
mean,
do.
that's just we built in Second Life. We built a Buddhist temple,
Yeah,
right, for with Tibetan Buddhist monks, right? And we got people putting candles there and do so. So it's not, I'm not talking from a theoretical point of view. We use this stuff. It made us go on a journey to find the right engine,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and we started going through various engines and experimenting as one of our colleagues, Aurelian, and I became, my God, if we saw another engine again, it was going to, went from the Hero engine, and
yeah.
the outrageous, crazy prices that they were going to charge us as independent studio to start working on this, and the arrogance that came with the engine providers, and then came in the model for Unity 3D that basically blew a hole and disrupted the marketplace. And then everybody tries to jump, Unreal Engine. Everybody has to, reshape their model to make more open. Which is, if you'd actually thought about it, right, that you wanted to create a 3D internet, instead of trying to spend 100 billion, 20,000 techies in a room, why wouldn't you crowdsource it,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Why
and
wouldn't you
so
create? So, I
you
mean,
know the interesting
because,
thing, people did,
well, yeah, but
and it kind of worked. So there's this one app, I guess you can call it, called VR Chat,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah, yeah, you
which
can.
is
And
basically exactly what Meta's trying to do, but actually built by people, open source, so you can go and create your own world,
yeah,
create the systems, create the interactions, and it's mildly successful. Why?
it is.
And I think the reason is that the corporate metaverse is a solution looking for a problem, right? Whereas what these guys did is they took a problem. They took virtual social relationships, right?
Mm,
Chatting with
yeah,
friends, chatting with people
right.
you don't know, and said, well, we've got this tech to actually be in it, inside it virtually, and be able to actually put your hand
Well,
forward and sort of touch stuff and all. Well, let's build that because we've got this the problem, which is how you interact with your friends, and we've got the solution. Instead of trying to really apply this concept of virtual worlds to everything and anything without any regards to what it could be. We work in business training, right, and leadership training. There's people talking about the metaverse in that field, but it has basically there's no direct relationship between the two.
do
It's
you not
not.
think? No, but do you not think it's like, I don't know, it's like having faith. It's religion. The metaverse is there. There's a godhead that exists
Yeah,
because, and you can't diss it either.
yeah.
All right,
Oh yeah, yeah,
no, you can't. You can't because
yeah,
the metaverse is coming, and I remember they don't want to hear. They don't want to. So how's metaverse going to change training? They don't want to hear. Well, it's not going to change training at all because what is it you're trying to solve? So I saw there was a big software company using VR chat, and they were using it to experiment once a week or twice a week, get people come, and yeah, they come and have experiences, getting them ready for when the new promised land was coming.
yeah,
Right. Anybody that played games, right, would look at this and think, well, I can use a VR headset on EVE Online. There's even a VR Star Trek game that looks more fun than this.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like, why would I want to? And I think you were talking about it earlier on before we came on about, right, I'm 7 floors up, my secretary's 7 floors down, and I want to speak to him about something. I'm not going to put my VR headset on, go into company land, ask him to do something. I'm going to send an email, I'm going to phone him,
yeah,
or I'm going to take the elevator and go down and see the person to
yeah,
keep because to keep the human touch.
yeah,
We've gone through the COVID thing. We understand that we can be virtual and we can be human, and those things are there. But I think the the real lesson from all of this is that Bill Gates used to say the idea might come from the US, right?
mm-hmm.
The disruptive innovation. But if you want to test it, put it into Europe. They'll do the details, you know.
Yeah,
Send it to the Nordics, and I
yeah,
guarantee you they'll question the hell out of it as to whether it's good any use. Because you basically, the metaverse has no clothes, it has no legs, you
no.
know.
It's it's
It,
it's an empty shell for sure.
yeah. What doesn't, what is the lesson that I think COVID has brought to us is that it's accelerated by, I would think, 15 years the adoption of virtual tools and techniques. So that one time we were, you know, talking about religion, we were doing missionary work. The video
Mm-hmm.
game technology could be a really interesting solution for collaboration, for teamwork, and stuff like that. All right, so I think that game's moved on, but I think the next time people talk about a metaverse solution, so please let me try it.
Yeah,
Please show me a real application. And I don't mean showing me a medical simulation or the fire simulation. Those are point solutions that are excellent for
yeah,
training. Here we're talking about some sort of broader belief system.
yeah,
You know, does it make sense?
yeah. No, absolutely. Until someone is able to actually create something that's coherent, practical, and better than the existing solutions, stuff like just social media and email,
Mm,
then then we can talk, right? But currently, there hasn't been a single implementation that brought anything interesting to the table without massive caveats and massive, issues to get past, and it's just not interesting
Just
for.
just imagine, right? Okay,
Yeah.
that you had to go up and meet the suits in your big video games company, right? You're the head of your studio, and you're walking in and you sit in front of the board, and they want you to explain why you've just spent $100 billion on a video game that literally the avatars have just got legs. It's the most boring game, it's Minecraft, isn't it?
Yeah. No,
Minecraft.
that one was
That
actually
is
Horizon Worlds or whatever it is. That was the Facebook one where they,
right.
what was it? It took them two
I don't know.
years to start adding legs. I think they're still not implemented at this point.
I mean, I don't think you'd even get the job of walking up the stairs.
Yeah,
Right? You'd have a little brown box and you'd be going that way. You know,
yeah,
how to throw? Can you imagine? I mean, that's the thing, right? We've created a five-person multiplayer teamwork game, right? That's real, it's tangible.
yeah.
Um, you can scale it, right? You can touch it, you can feel it, and you can test it,
And more
right?
importantly, we were able to sort of make sure that the type of interaction you're having with the virtual environment is bringing something to the table in terms of learning, right? It's not virtual for the sake of being virtual. It's virtual because, the way it's created serves the purpose we've designed it for.
But I think that it's okay. So there's a return on learning on the investment. So what
Yeah.
we're talking about there is that there's a game workflow
Yeah.
that has a pedagogy
Yeah.
that looks at testing autonomous decision making processes, right? That looks at whether you've got empowered teamwork. Now we know that we decided today that we were going to drop the subject on because we were going to do teamwork. Is it oxymoron? And we decided to focus on the metaverse because it's one of the big current subjects in
Yeah.
terms of the puncturing of the hype. But
Hmm.
nevertheless, one of the things for people out there who are listening to us that you've really got, first and foremost, if you don't play video games, all right, then you are going to have a low level of immersive intelligence. Because let's talk about there has to be an intelligence to using technology,
Yeah.
to being able to operate from a white belt to a black belt in a virtual environment
Yeah.
in the and that habit forming of solving problems, of creative thinking, of working as an innovative team can only come if you've been working in a video game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So instead of video games being your enemy, video games being the enemy of your children, growing up and learning stuff, realize, see what I'm saying? So I'm committing heresy here. Video games are actually an asset
Hmm.
to your pedagogical suite,
Yep.
right? That within there, these designers, have worked on not just entertaining people and people crashing controllers. Far from that. Some, there's a reason why esport exists in competitive gaming, in which millions and millions of people flock to watch teams play, right? Top teams play, right?
Yeah.
Because it's fun, entertaining, and it's damn hard. You learn from it, and they
It's
watch.
it's real teamwork, which
Oh,
exactly like in sports. That's the interesting bit. It's the real
it is a
teamwork.
sport, yeah. But
Yeah.
this is where I start, like,
Traditional
I
sports. I
sort
meant.
of, yeah, 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 exactly. Careful. So you're talking about there are virtual sports and there are real world sports.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, when you think about it and you watch a football team and the coach is able to speak into a headset and pass out gameplays, when you realize that in football games now that to measure whether a goal has gone in, or to use football, the offside rule, which drives a lot of Americans nuts when we talk about soccer, as they would call it. You have
Yep.
VR, you have technology on the
Yeah.
side.
Yep.
You have technology that says, did this or does this happen? And I
Mhm.
think it's the same in tennis now. All right, so
Yep.
you're beginning to see a new relationship with virtual technologies. If you don't play video games, if you don't experiment with them, if you don't experiment with the content, then your immersive intelligence is going to remain around zero.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's also important to point out that there is a general lack of understanding around these technologies, around the world of esports, around that in general. There is this thing where it's like everyone's late to the party.
Yeah.
Recently, the Olympics announced that they were including esports, right? And great, it's good, it's important because to a certain from a certain point of view, esports are now the biggest sports, or
Yeah, but
depending
did
on
you
the country.
see? Yeah, but it's
Exactly.
only, what they're saying though is it's like, oh, it's an esport if you move with it.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
they
It's like it's
completely,
replicating a
yeah,
physical game, like
they
skiing or something.
completely missed the ball. They didn't include a single, I'd say culturally recognized
No.
esports title. The only one that is vaguely close to correct is chess, which is a recognized and pretty well regarded esport at this point. It's the only
No,
one.
but
All the other
no,
ones are
no,
completely off
but
the mark.
because it's a load of suits, right? Who are like some sort of, I don't know, religious elders making decisions
Yeah,
about what is and what isn't.
yeah,
And this lot have never been near a video game in their life.
yeah,
You can project 20 years ahead when the new generation of people who've been brought up with video games will go, it's a no-brainer.
yeah.
Right. You're going to go to a stadium and you're going to watch a League of Legends team. Or you're going to watch, Counter-Strike, or you're going to watch
Whatever.
Overwatch.
Yeah, whatever game
Whatever.
comes up. Yeah,
I'm like, I'm listing the great stuff there.
yeah,
You watch them play, right? Okay, but and the skill involved and etc.
yeah,
Okay, but these guys are not going to be comparable to football,
yeah,
all right, or to basketball, or to tennis. It's this is to do with immersive intelligence. This
yeah,
is to do with bias born from non-experience,
yeah,
and this bias, this cognitive bias, that's at a social and cultural level, exists within businesses as well, and it's a real learning obstacle to actually being able to take advantage of simulation technology that can give them a real cutting edge for advanced teamwork, and leadership training.
yeah. And sort of to tie this back into the original subject, sneakily, I think what's also interesting here is that not having this immersive literacy, right? Not having this skill set, this understanding of what video games are and all these technologies that surround gaming and other similar subjects are, is what led people to overhype a completely empty metaverse. And this is going to happen constantly to you, to others, if you don't
Mm,
pay attention, if you don't actually try to keep an open mind and give it a go, right? Be it
mm,
gaming or any other new tech, actually try it. And don't try the dumbed down version. Don't try the
mm,
version that's been filtered by 50 suits. Try the version that people are actually using. The version that's actually, rich and complex and interesting and cutting edge.
mm,
And by
mm,
doing that, by actually just going for it,
mm.
that's what will allow you to take it a level further, right? To really be able to include that in your future plans and what you're trying to build. I think that's
I
really
think
the
it's.
big
I think.
lesson here.
It
Sorry, go.
reminds me of. I can't remember the name of it, and I'm sure somebody's going to do it in the comments. So you're going to help me. Like in the Wild West, it used to be guys go around with his wagon and sell a bottle of medicine
Snake
out of it.
oil.
Yeah, snake oil salesman.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and this snake oil, it can solve everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you just take this; it'll solve every known illness to man.
Yep.
You just take it, and to a certain extent, I think there's a big hustle going on for business
Yep.
people, and they really, really need to recognize that in the world of technology, if you don't want to get hustled, play video games. Because
Yeah.
maybe the other piece is that the answer to how new, innovative, and disruptive video game technologies are going to move out of the world of entertainment
Hmm.
and into the wider world is going to come from the games world. And I
Yep.
think it's just got to be cards on the table, because most people who don't play video games don't get it right. But it is bigger than Hollywood.
Yep.
And if we actually say, all right, so that's the video games industry, but then there's the industry that's around the industry, that's the streaming industry, that's the community of people that are involved, it's the esports side of things.
It's
So
Twitch and all that. Yep. For
if
sure.
you don't play video games, you're part of a subculture
Yeah.
because the mainstream is video games,
Yep.
and you need to read the writing on the wall.
Yep.
That this is where it's going. So I know we're coming towards the end, but I would say that you should go home and you should rescue your controller from your kids, right? Or as some of the colleagues we've have, go buy your own PS5, go get your own.
Get a gaming PC. Get whatever you need to do it, but get it
Right. I
done.
mean, we've got lots of our partners doing that, and they feel
Yeah.
like they've duly been given the license to go play and learn. And the
Yeah.
smile is incredible, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we're giving all you people out there the license to go away, go watch the great streamers out there.
And
You're
tell
you're
your
not
boss
alone.
it's research, right?
Yeah.
That's the bit
Right.
you have to keep in mind because it is. It really
Yeah.
is.
Oh,
It's
don't tell your
learning.
boss.
Well, no, but if someone catches you,
So I'd like to bring our podcast to a close
yeah,
and say, Eric, as always, it's great to bounce ideas off you in the podcast because we spend a lot of time talking about this in our
yeah.
working environment as well, you know.
No, it's always
And
interesting to have these chats, and hopefully, we'll get people sort of pinging us back with questions and interesting ideas. So, feel free to put stuff in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say and what you think about this, because it's always good to have better opinions and more opinions, for sure.
well, the plan we have for the podcast is because, like anything, we're just learning. We're
Yeah,
learning. We're learning how to do this, and in doing that, we've got other people that we want to bring on board and to make it more sort of meaningful. To bring some more regular guests to change up the subjects,
hmm,
to make it really relevant, to actually talk about real experiences. That's the kind of thing we want to be talking about, tangible stuff. So, if you like what we've done, then it would be really great if you press the like button down
yep.
below.
And subscribe.
And
And also,
uh,
if anyone sort of would like to talk about this with us live, we'd be happy to set up an interview and sort of include it in the podcast. So,
yeah. So a note to end on. We'll catch you on the next one.
absolutely. Ciao.